Hey everybody, welcome to Futurum Tech TV. I'm Daniel Newman, Principal Analyst at Futurum Research. And today my phone has been ringing off the hook with inquiries from various media outlets about the Salesforce and its potential acquisition of collaboration, asynchronous and synchronous chat tool, Slack. So what do I think about that? Well, first of all, this could be a very, very large deal. While the numbers are yet to be disclosed, the rumor is that this deal could be done as early as next week, and that for Salesforce, this could be its biggest deal to date. Before that, it was the acquisition of Tableau, coming in at a little bit over $14 billion. The Tableau acquisition being very much a fit to the direction that Salesforce is going, but also a little bit counterintuitive to the pure software play. The Slack acquisition sort of takes the company in a new direction. So anyone that's followed Salesforce for a while is aware of Salesforce's Chatter application. But overall, the company has really struggled to make significant inroads into the collaboration space. The company also hasn't really built an app yet outside of its sales and marketing and customer service tools that really is mainstream, that hit the customer. So you look at Microsoft's growth this year with its Teams app going from 11 million or so daily active users to its most recent earnings where it announced 115 million daily active users. You can see that the trajectory and growth for collaboration has been huge. Salesforce hasn't really been able to capitalize on that. So Benioff's very aggressive inorganic growth strategy that last year took MuleSoft and most recently Tableau is looking to be followed up with a big acquisition of a well-known application that's popular everywhere from on college campuses, for government workers, of course, enterprises, in Slack. Now, Slack's kind of an interesting move because the company as a whole has been a little bit stagnant since its listing, since it did its direct listing. I think everybody really felt that Slack was going to be this takeoff, but instead of Slack, it was Zoom. And in 2020, with this being this year of the big pandemic, collaboration tools were huge. They rocketed through growth. We saw Zoom's valuation go exponential. We saw, as I mentioned, 100 million daily active users grow for Microsoft. We saw Cisco WebEx realize some really great growth. And Slack, while it still saw around 50% growth, these numbers were sort of poo-pooed by the street. The stock had moved fairly sideways for most of the last several months after it fell in its March lows. And that was after a couple of earnings reports where Stuart Butterfield and the team just couldn't really give a clear path to the street as to how Slack was going to grow at scale and enter profitability in the coming quarters. And so when the growth in daily active users and the growth of monthly subscriptions at over 100,000 sort of stagnated, especially in comparison to Zoom's growth during this pandemic, I think a lot of the street was wondering, well, if the opportune moment of the COVID-19 and work from home wasn't the moment where Slack saw exponential growth in paid adoption among enterprises, when would that time come? And so I think a lot of people were sort of skeptical. Investors had sort of looked to other routes. A dollar spent in Zoom was going to give a much better return. And so Slack was a little bit in no man's land. And so here comes Salesforce here. And Salesforce is looking for that growth. It's become such a big component of the Dow. The company's seen huge growth this year in SaaS. It does have new competition, and it's expanded competition as Microsoft continues to be more and more of an influence in CRM. You've got Adobe, SAP. And so Salesforce needs to also expand its roots, and Slack could be a really good opportunity. I think Benioff could potentially find value. And while the numbers are being speculative at above that Tableau number, I do think because of Slack's growth challenges, there could be an opportunity for Salesforce to pick it up at some value and to pick it up in a moment where the growth is hard to come by, and Salesforce feels it can immediately support the growth through enabling its current existing customer database to become Slack users. So my overall feeling on this is pretty bullish. I've seen some of the pundits come on and say this is a slam dunk. This is an easy peasy deal. I don't necessarily think it's going to be easy. I don't necessarily think Salesforce is just ready to rip and rock and roll in collaboration. I still think integrations with video and Zoom and full enterprise-wide collab that you're going to get from Microsoft. I haven't even mentioned Google and its full productivity suite are going to continue to put pressure and competition on Salesforce. But having said all that, I do think that Salesforce would be a really great fit. In fact, I said over 1 year ago that I think Salesforce is going to acquire Slack. And I said this to an interview, I believe it was to Business Insider. So this has looked like a fit to me for a long time. I thought maybe Zoom could come in and buy Slack to sort of complete its portfolio. That didn't happen. Salesforce definitely looking to, what's that killer app that gets more adoption, more visibility, that gets it beyond sort of these back office operations and, its marketing stack and into something that really users all throughout an organization are using every day, that's going to have that Salesforce logo on it and keep Benioff and Salesforce growing at the rate of return that its investors are looking for. So big news, big breaking news today. Very encouraging for Slack. For Salesforce, it will be to be determined how successful this could be, but I definitely feel more confident in Slack's trajectory under the guise of Salesforce than in its current state of flux on its own.